I need a deep breath before I read these. Right, so hello everyone, welcome to the TED Talks podcast. Now on this episode, a very interesting fella, Paul Nicholson, welcome.
Thank you.
Before I introduce you, if you're watching the video, I'm going to read a list of awards that you've been nominated or crowned for. I'm not going to read all of them. Whew, get ready for this. So, Future 100 Awards, Young Entrepreneur of the Year, Best Property Development Firm, Most Anticipated Development, Most Affordable Rental Property, Young Business Person of the Year, Entrepreneur of the Year, Ambassador for St Helens Borough Council, winner of the Interactive Award, NWPA 2017, Property Development of the Year, Property Investor of the Year, Pride of St Helens Award, CEO of the Year, High Gross Business of the Year, Investor of the Year, and Jesus Christ, I mean, how many you bloody... So I feel like there's going to be a lot of gold in this episode after reading the enumerate list of awards that you've won. So Paul, for people who don't know you, could you give an introduction as to what you're doing now, and then we'll delve into your story and go back in time?
Right, so right now we are a property development stroke landlord. I originally started my portfolio up in Liverpool, from terraced houses, semi-detached, into converting large mansions, and now we're spearheading the regeneration of a northern town centre called St Helens.
Wow. Okay, so you and your company is leading the regeneration of the whole town.
Yeah, we're on our 4th project now.
And how long have you been in property?
I originally set out as a solicitor.
Oh.
At a commercial law firm, Hill Dickinson, which some of you might know.
Okay.
I specialised in property and finance there.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, I bought my first investment property, which is a 3-bed semi-detached.
Yep, the usual, the good old.
Yeah. Well, my why has changed through the course.
Okay.
So back then, obviously, I had been an ambition to do well in the legal career. So the reason why I wanted it, just to top up my income, I wanted hassle-free. So I thought the family house, perfect. Absolutely hated being told what to do, hated having a boss. So, I was many watching this probably have had the same story. So I soon left that career journey, and then I went into the multi-blocks of flats, etc., and it all took shape from there.
So you started off like most people do,
yeah,
in the kind of buy-to-lets, the kind of vanilla, boring, easy, low risk, higher cash flow type thing potentially.
Yeah.
So you didn't like being told what to do. You had that entrepreneurial spirit in you.
Yeah.
What was that moment where you said, you know what, I'm going to quit this legal career and do what the hell I want?
I think some of it rested on being financially secure. One thing I would say to anyone who's thinking about going, right, I'll go full time into the property industry, that is great, but you've got to make sure you are going to be financially steady. Quitting on one property or two, you're probably not going to get by. So even though you hate going in at 9 a.m, I'd suggest still doing it until you are at that position where you can afford to, because putting that sort of stress and pressure on yourself. And property, there are risks to it. It might not go according to plan, so there's financial consequences to that.
So you had that one property,
yeah,
and then did you wait until you were full time before you bought more, or were you slowly building a portfolio?
So a bit like yourself, and you've obviously got an itchy finger and like to buy quite rapidly. I bought my first in 2008, and then I sat back, I'd say, till 2011, 12, I think it was.
Wow, okay.
Because obviously, and then my training contract was coming to the end, okay. I was qualifying, so I was concentrated on that. I also had a property management services business on the side, okay. Which was doing very well. I set that up, I had national coverage in the end there. But when the home information packs went, that's what it was based in. Overnight the government just destroyed that business. So
wow, okay.
I then qualified as a lawyer and then realised, right, I need something else on the side. So I bought that one, left it 3 years, and then went into the terraced houses. Okay. But the lower end, because I bought the first one, which was, a 3-bed semi in suburban area, quite expensive, really low yielding property. It was nice and comfy, not much hassle, but, it wasn't going to, give me a yacht anytime soon. So I went into the real low value terraced houses in not the most affluent area, Liverpool. Yeah. With that come a lot of headaches and a lot of lessons, which I'm still learning today.
Okay, so then, you followed quite a normal path.
Yeah.
A lot of people I speak to nowadays, even myself, I'm kind of thinking, this is sort of how I've seen it happen. So then, obviously you were earning a bit of money being a solicitor, so were you at that time just buying properties with your savings and...
Yeah, and also refinancing out. So one of the things, I've got specific rules when I buy a property. When you first start out, you get emotionally attached to something, don't you? Where you put a bit of time, you think, I've got to buy that.
Yeah.
I have a very firm, rigid financial criteria, and when I run that calculation, if it doesn't fall in, it has to go in the bin, because I always make sure that I don't leave money in a deal.
Okay.
So I might look, 50 deals, but 3 might fit, and then I might only get 1 offer.
And you were doing this back then?
Back then, and I still do it to this day.
So you were doing this when you didn't really have property experience?
Well, I did it because I was a property solicitor, and I specialised in finance, so I saw how people were exited. So I could see how people would exit their developments onto long-term finance, and I could see what old redemption statements they were paying off, what they were netting, what properties ticked that box, which didn't, which lenders were allowing you to say geared up against value as opposed to purchase price.
You really had an insight into this.
I was working for some of the national house builders, big pension firms. I worked on a 12, 15-storey new build in Manchester. I did all the off-plan developments.
Wow.
So I had a full spectrum from smaller investors, smaller developers, large developers, how pension funds work. And then also I did a lot of, I acted for some of the leading banks like, Lloyds, Santander. So when I'd get some instructions off them. So I saw it from the bank's perspective, what they'd look for, what security they need. So now, for example, I've got, we're about to refinance Nicholson Plaza with a lender. It's, a large transaction, but it's, in terms of the legal aspect, it was signed off in less than a week. That's
quick. I can't even buy a buy-to-let in 4 weeks.
Because I've done it.
Yeah.
So when I've given them the folder, I know you have what's called a certificate of title. The solicitor signs off to the bank to say good to go. I know what's on that, so it's all provided up front.
Interesting. And you know what? Being a property solicitor really gave you a lot.
I hated it, but without it, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am now. Because it gave me a good insight as well into lease structures.
Of course.
So then, obviously, I had to peruse all the valuations that came through. So I'd see the different investment methodologies, which one would give you the better GDV on the end. Do you create a lease structure and keep the freehold out? What sort of multiples can you get on investment value? So am I best gearing up against the rent roll?
Yeah.
Which properties they won't let you do. For example, HMOs. People, quite a popular topic. A lot of people want to get into the HMO market. But they all think, oh great, 5 rooms, 100 quid a week, this building's going to be worth 400,000, but next door sold for 120 grand because Mr. and Mrs. Smith can live in it. A lender will no longer let you gear up on that rent roll. I had a real good open insight into everything that goes on.
Okay, so you had this background, obviously boosted you, it probably got you further than say someone without it, right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely, yeah.
So you bought these houses, you bought a few in quick succession.
Yeah.
Buy-to-lets are great.
Yeah.
Of course, generally they're like the foundation of any portfolio.
Absolutely.
What made you be like, you know what, I'm sick of, $250 a month net cash flow. What made you say, I'm done with that, and now I'm going to just build big things?
From the outset, as I said, when we mentioned previously about your why changing, I think we mentioned off camera, my why was, I just wanted passive income, then your why changed. But when I went into buying quite expansively and quickly yourself, the buy-to-lets, I had then a burning vision that I want to create a big brand. And being one of the branding experts, it's probably branding was part of my thing. I wouldn't go as far as saying a household name because it might be, you don't get too many landlords like that, but I wanted a recognised brand. To do that, I needed numbers, and I believe in safety in numbers. But also, when I was doing these terraced houses at first, I used to just do the magnolia. I used to go with the wood chip. Magnolia there.
Hey, wood chips before I didn't even know what wood chip is, man.
Well, try scraping it off. I used to do that myself. I used to, the blue cord carpet. We were talking about learning lessons, and I bought my properties quite quickly and learned made huge mistakes.
Tell us about some of these mistakes.
So skimping on your refurb. Mine was 2011, 12. Now everyone you speak to is a landlord, so it's a different market. But you could rent back then a terrible sort of product.
Okay, fair enough.
And mine were to begin with a terrible product. Magnolia the wood chip, left the kitchens, never changed the kitchen either. It was 1980s, it'd stay. Then panic, throw them up on Facebook, didn't reference people. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
You
huge.
just took any Tom, Dick and Harry.
Oh, because they were in such bad condition. I didn't want to spend any money. I'd spent all my money actually on the properties,
Oh, wow.
and didn't leave anything in reserve. So we had terrible tenants, pretty poor properties. Any rent that I did receive went back out in maintenance anyway.
Jesus.
But thankfully at the time, it goes back to the question you said about when to quit. I was still practicing, so I still had my own income coming in. Took step back. I took stock of where I was at. Had a good look at why this wasn't working, and then I went back. Thought, right, I've got to create a decent product, a desirable product to get a desirable tenant.
Yeah.
Back to scratch, ripped them all out, and then during this, I realised one, what could be done and what value you could add by actually doing an extensive refurbishment.
Yeah.
Two, that I really liked interior design, and three, once it was done properly, the difference in your net rent roll was substantial, and especially on that sort of size portfolio. Even back then of 12 properties, there was a slush fund, and I sort of nearly fell over. But at the time, as I say, it then gave me the confidence. By one that you see people who try and jump into the bigger end and don't do these smaller stepping stones. By doing the small, you learn these mistakes as you go, and it builds your confidence. So when you've done this 1-2 bed terraced house and you refurb, you look back and go, oh, I've done that. You do a couple more, you realise that's a piece of piss. And if you're a bit driven, you go, you know what, I'm going to buy those 3 1-bed flats, and you do a couple of them. But then they throw up their own difficulties. A lot of people say you buy a large house, convert it to 4 apartments. Something that I've known to people to trip up on is the infrastructure. Can the electrical load, for example, take that?
And it's expensive to split them.
Ooh.
It's ridiculously expensive.
On one of mine, on the last one we did, which was converted to 28 apartments, that was it. We got quoted initially until you have contestable, non-contestables, which is complex, but the initial quote was 85,000.
To split the
to power it, because it was an office, so it was underpowered. So if all 28 people put the ovens on, lights out. But it's something a lot of people don't consider.
You wouldn't. I didn't until like a few months ago. Someone told me.
And you go, oh.
And I was like, that deal's not getting an offer.
Yeah, so you go back, you've done your terraced houses, which cost you, say, 8 grand, 10 grand to refurb. Oh, 5 flats, it'll cost me 50 grand, I'm in. And you think, oh, hang on, where did that one come from? Then you've got your drainage. Can you drain? Have they got the capacity?
Oh, of course.
So all these sorts of things add up.
Yeah. Wow, okay, so then it's interesting what you said about the refurbs getting higher rent. I know that from the 2 houses I'm letting at the moment, just by having them, not expensive refurb, but swag, I'm getting 50 quid a month more, just because I spent 2 hours on the design.
Exactly.
Instead of, just do Magnolia or whatever. So it makes a difference, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I stay anywhere with my fiance, we always stay in different hotels. We're always in London quite a lot. But instead of having one of those loyalty cards, we stay everywhere to take design tips.
That's a good idea.
So, for example, in Nicholson Plaza, the one we mentioned before, the tiled entrance, we buried an LED strip into the grout lines. That was from an office block in London. I saw it.
Into the grout lines?
So, you say you've got your door casing and you've got your front door into the apartment block. We've tiled all round. So where the 2 tiles meet, obviously your grout. We buried in an LED light strip round.
So behind the grout?
Well, no, so there's no grout in that bit. It's sealed with the plastic trim from the LED light.
I love that.
So when you walk up, it pings up.
I might do that.
It looks, and it's not that expensive.
I'm thinking for a buy-to-let, it could be the mirror, the light behind the mirror. So
well, that's what we've then now just we put a mirror on the wall, and then we've got this sort of laminate floor that runs up the wall and over the roof.
Oh, I've seen those in hotels.
And then we've got all the flowers hanging off the top.
Mate, I love
And there's a mirror over there, so people are getting selfies in the mirror with the. So it starts making it sort of a place you need to go.
It also becomes part of the brand, doesn't
exactly.
it?
Yeah.
I like that, and you know what? Like, I think a lot of people, especially kind of at your level, which we'll get to, doing the big, flats and new builds, things like that. They just build it a cookie cutter, like Berkeley Homes, boring. No offense to them, but like
the white gloss kitchen doors, and you've got no imagination and no appeal.
And it's not expensive. Doing the floorboard thing is not expensive. Doing the mirror. Is not expensive, and the tiles you got, they look expensive, but as we discovered,
they're not.
They're a bargain.
The most expensive thing was the fake plants from the range in Wilco's, and they were like 300 quid trying to dangle them all over off a step ladder.
I love that, dude. So you had that moment. You built up.
Yeah.
But then, so your why changed from being a little little bit of income on the side to becoming, this is my full-time brand and business and job.
Yeah.
So then, but someone could still do that with buy-to-lets, right?
Yeah.
So I want the listeners to really understand, because a lot of people are maybe in this situation where they're like, I've got buy-to-lets, I want to do new builds, do I actually want to do them? I want to do conversions, do I actually want to do them?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of gave you the confidence, or what was the real reason you stopped it? Was it just bored of them? And
the growth acceleration's relatively slow.
Okay.
Buying a single let, obviously you've spent 2-3 months in that house doing it. You're probably going to net 200-250 a month. If you bought well, say you've say it's valued at 80 grand. Say you're using sensible loan to values, which I always do, and I always clear down the debt. You probably look at a loan of 54. So say you spent 40 grand buying it, you spent 10 grand on it, you've made 4 grand. So you're gonna have to do 10 of them to get to 40.
Yeah.
And then that'll get you 2.5 grand a month net. It's quite a slow projection.
Yeah.
Where when you're getting in, if you're hitting 4 or 5 flats in the one block, obviously going to take slightly longer, but you're all in the same location, it goes a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And what I also found is, when I was looking the terraced houses, as I say, I bought in the era after the crash, the recession, so I was picking a lot up from LPA receivers. Obviously I had good relationships with them as well through my capacity as a solicitor. But we're in a much buoyant market. If you want to get into these single lets, you're possibly buying from a homeowner.
Yeah.
It's theirs, they've got a lot of passion about that. So the price tends to, when you're buying these rundown blocks of apartments I was looking at, it's usually a landlord who just sees it as a numbers game. He's not attached to it.
Yeah.
And you can. What I found is usually a better deal to be done. But now I've moved into office retail conversion, because a lot of people want that stock I used to buy of the multi-block flats. Everyone wants one. Everyone's a developer these days. Prices through the roof. Not a lot of people want to convert retail buildings and office buildings. I've gone to a northern town centre that's reinventing itself.
Okay.
These town centres notoriously are ghost towns across the country. They're never going to be a place where you shop anymore, because everyone moans about it, but we all go on Amazon.
Yeah.
And quite funnily enough, Amazon had just opened their second home up in St Helens.
Wow.
And everyone's complaining about the town centre being dead, but then they've come there. But that's a different political story, I suggest.
Okay.
But I found that there's some great value now in these empty previous places of employment.
Okay, so then you had this portfolio of buy-to-lets.
Yeah.
So the transition, so you buy-to-lets, then did you get HMOs?
No, I've only ever done one HMO. I'm not a huge fan of it.
Okay.
I'm a huge believer in something you do, you need to buy into yourself.
I agree, yeah.
When you do the one you've just done, for example, you said you didn't spend a great deal on, but you made it nice.
Yeah.
Probably you would live in it, say.
Yeah,
the apartment I'm
nicer
building.
than my own bloody house, I think.
Yeah. I'd live in some of the things I'm developing now, not necessarily from when I first started, but we're going back to them and changing them all. Would I live in a shared accommodation? I personally wouldn't.
I wouldn't either, yeah.
So I don't believe in that product. Also, when I started out and the economy started, now the property market, I believe, is fueled through this investment-led developments, and they were heavily saturated with studios. So you can see the equation: simple supply and demand. Too many studios built, rental prices will come down. The impact on that is people often rent a room because they're affordable. Obviously, you've got the communal feature to it, that people want to be with other people, but often people do it because it's affordable.
Yeah.
So that having your own apartment with your own kitchen, your own bathroom was probably too pricey. Now with the drop in those prices, people are going, oh, for an extra £50, I might be able to get my own studio. So I think it's tough. And I think there was a lot of people took advantage of Article 4, getting in and doing the HMOs, and I think that's seen probably an oversupply of them as well.